So, hi everyone. My name is Grace Tate. I am a peer mentor for CAPS and president of the Public Health Society on campus.
Hi, my name is Naomi Alvarado, and I'm another peer mentor at UM-Dearborn.
And this is our mental health misconceptions and how to end them webinar. So first, we're going to start off with the icebreaker, just going around saying our names and the thorns and roses from our day. So basically, a great part of your day and a not so great part of your day. Again, if you don't feel comfortable stating your name and just want to state your thorns and roses, or vice versa, we're completely open to that. And you can leave them in the chat as well.
Okay, cool. Did you want to start, Grace, or?
Sure. I guess a rose, a great part of my day was I got a lot of work done. And a thorn, I wouldn't say it's a thorn, actually part of my day. It's a busy day, but I've been managing it well.
Awesome. And I would say my rose, I had a pretty good morning. It was a good morning for a Monday. Usually Mondays are pretty rough, but it was good. And then a thorn would probably be having to pay gas because gas monies can be very expensive. So yeah.
So I guess it's my turn now. So my day was good. Like I got done with all my assignments and all, but it's just like another week and I have to do all rest of my stuff. So that's kind of fun. That yeah, another assignments, projects, and all these things, and nothing else to do much. So yeah. By the way, this is my first event, so like first time joining this CAPS event, so I don't know how it works or something, and what do you guys discuss, but I was just interested to know more.
Yeah, thank you for sharing.
Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Mithilesh Vinod, and yeah, my day has been great so far. And one good thing about my day today is that I got to get a lot of cleaning done in my room and arranging stuff. And one not so great part of the day was that I wasn't able to get up early. I got up a bit late than planned.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
So I was gonna say thank you for being here. And then just to answer the previous question that was stated, so CAPS events, they're all pretty much different, but they're centered around health. So it could be like mental health, physical health, just any dimension of wellness. So this event today, it's going to be very informal. So if you have like any comments as we're presenting, you could definitely unmute yourself and speak up or leave it in the chat. But it's just a chance for us to like get to talk more about mental health and like the different misconceptions with them.
Got it.
Awesome. All right, I'll go to the next slide. All right, so we're going to talk about what is mental health. So as a general overview, mental health is regarded as your emotional and physiological state. And another way you can say it is basically how are you feeling right now emotionally? That would be what your mental health is. And an important note is your mental health is just as important as your physical health, and both should be treated just as seriously.
So moving on to common misconceptions. One misconception is that mental health problems are uncommon. This is completely untrue. It's actually stated from the World Health Organization that 1 in 4 people in the world will be affected by mental or neurological disorders at some point in their lives. 2, you are judged if you have mental health complications. Again, the complications are kind of cut off by the photo. But again, this is incorrect. There is actually a Healthy Mind study that was conducted on campus, and we conduct one about every year or so. And it actually showed that college students believe that people will judge them if they receive mental health help, receive mental health help, but they will actually not judge others for receiving the help, and they deem it to be normal. So I just think that goes to show that others are like judgmental, will believe that people are judgmental for receiving help, but it's actually inaccurate, and people encourage others to receive mental health help. 3, people with mental illness are unable to work. Again, this is incorrect. It was actually stated that 54.5% of individuals with severe conditions are employed, compared to 75.9% of people without mental illness. And 68.8% of people with mild mental illness are employed as well. So just because you are suffering from some kind of mental illness, that doesn't mean you are unable to work. Yeah. Moving on to the next point, mental health is a sign of weakness. Again, that's incorrect. Mental health problems are permanent. Mental health problems are far from permanent. And I like to also note on this bulletin point that everyone's mental health journey is different. So just because someone resolves their mental health issues that they're experiencing within a matter of months, and yours takes a matter of years, that is completely okay. There's no one fit timeline for receiving mental health help. And then lastly, one that I hear very common is that people with mental health are often violent, and this is far from the truth as well. And it's actually 4.3% of violence in a given community is from people who have mental health disorders, and people who don't have schizophrenia or mental health disorder are 14 times more likely to be the victim of a violent crime than the perpetrator.
Awesome. And then now we're going to talk about why are misconceptions a problem when dealing with mental health. So the first one is it leads to stigmatization surrounding mental health. Stigmatization just refers to people aren't going to be as willing to talk about mental health and will think of it in a different light from what it actually is when having discussions about it. People not receiving appropriate help. So if we have all these misconceptions on how to treat people with a mental illness, it can be very different from what these individuals actually need to feel better in their life. Individuals' mental health interferences can worsen from not being appropriately treated. So it kind of ties to the second point. If we don't give people the actual help that they need, in terms of our misconceptions, giving them poor advice, this can lead to them not getting as much treatment and help for their problems. The fourth one is individuals with these mental health issues can be less likely to reach out for help for the fear of how they will be perceived. So let's say someone has depression, and there's a big misconception that people with depression are very lazy and there's nothing actually wrong with them. So that person might be less likely to tell and reach out for help from other people because they're worried they might be perceived as lazy, or they're just making up the issues in their head. And then the fifth one is it distracts from the core issues. So this kind of relates back to the earlier points. If we have all of these misconceptions, it's going to take away from the actual problem at hand of people suffering with mental illnesses, which is why we should all have like a baseline knowledge that's accurate when talking about mental health. And also, again, feel free to like chime in if you guys have anything to mention on any of the slides.
Oh, did anyone have anything? I see a few people are unmuted. Did anyone have anything to say or have any questions with that slide? Okay, you can do this slide, Naomi.
Awesome. So we're going to do depression misconceptions. So the first one is depressed individuals are considered lazy. Similar to what I was saying before, a lot of people can think people with depression are just making up their issues in their head. It's not a big deal, and they can use it as an excuse to not get out of bed in the morning. That couldn't be further from the truth. When someone deals with depression, it often takes a mental toll on doing everyday tasks. That's not them being lazy. That's just what happens when you are depressed. The second one, they should just shrug off their issues. Their sadness is just a phase. This again is like the idea that depression is all in your head. It's not an actual problem. And one can just be happy at the snap of the finger. People with depression oftentimes don't really know how to start feeling better. And it's definitely not a phase, because in order to be depressed, this has to last for more than 2 weeks. The third one, everyone experiences depression the same way. People can show depression in different ways, especially in different cultures that you're in. One thing might not look the same for different people who are depressed. The fourth one, you are weak if you have depression. This is a very common misconception that people with depression are just playing off their problems to be bigger than they are. And then the last one is depression is only caused by a traumatic event. So you can be depressed even if nothing traumatic has happened in your life. It just might be a little bit harder to see than other people, but it definitely happens and it's super common.
So for our activity to help you guys realize your own misconceptions and how to help you understand how you can reduce your own stigma, we ask that you grab a piece of paper, or if you don't have a piece of paper available, just kind of like mentally think about it and mentally or physically list some misconceptions you have around surrounding mental health, and then list some ways you believe you can reduce your own stigma surrounding mental health. And we'll give you a few seconds to do that. And then after the activity, we'll give you guys some ideas of how to end your own misconceptions. And if you guys feel comfortable sharing, feel free to share some of the misconceptions you have or some ideas you believe you can reduce your own stigma.
Got it.
I can say before like working in CAPS, I would feel like a misconception I had was that people will like judge me for receiving mental health help or judge others for receiving mental health help when that's actually not true. So I think that's a personal misconception I've had.
Yeah, I really like that. I had like another one too, like in middle school especially. I thought that mental health issues were permanent and you couldn't get help for them or ever feel better in your life. But now I know that there's a lot of treatments to help a person feel better with their mental health issues.
And like it's 2021 and it's been a while that issue has been raised around. So I don't have that kind of misconceptions, even though like I'm aware of the situation that people do think that people receiving mental health care are sort of disturbed. But the biggest misconception I had was that depression and mental health was something really complex that I can't get into and help people around. But what I realized was that it is a really simple thing, and we just have to take care of everyone around, and that's pretty much it. There is nothing. There is no rocket science behind it. It's just you should smile at others and take small steps. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good point. Thank you for sharing that. Did anyone else want to share what they wrote?
I
Okay,
believe
cool.
some ways of reducing stigma surrounding mental health would be like getting to know more about like mental health diseases. Like maybe like there are a lot of sources on the internet, like medical websites, which provide a lot of clear factual information regarding mental health. So reading through or browsing and getting to know all that would go a long way in reducing the stigma around it.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. Just kind of like going online and reading and researching about mental health. Awesome.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And actually, what you stated is like what we put in our slides, research the facts. So you guys both said some really key things to both misconceptions and how to resolve your misconceptions. So some additional topics we have are be conscious of your own language. So make sure you realize what you're saying and more specifically who you're saying it around. So for example, I hear a lot people saying, "Oh my gosh, you're acting so bipolar," or "I feel bipolar." Just think how you think that would make you feel if you were bipolar or if someone around you actually is bipolar. So just being aware of the language you're presenting to yourself and around others. And then also physical health is just as important as mental health. So Naomi mentioned this. So you guys all go to a doctor's regularly, or if you don't feel good physically, you go see a doctor or research it or talk about it. Normalize that with mental health as well. Everyone has bad mental health days, and that's completely natural. So just giving the same equality to physical health as you do to mental health. thoroughly. Try to not self-stigmatize, and then stop using mental health as an adjective. So this kind of goes back to the bipolar example. So if you are an extremely clean person, just because you're extremely clean or you like things organized, that doesn't mean you have OCD. OCD is far more complex than that. So by stopping using mental health adjectives, it can help reduce the stigmatization around it. Next, research the facts, which was already stated. Remember the importance of your own health, address misconceptions. So by simply attending this webinar, you guys are all addressing your own misconceptions. So high five with that. Encourage your peers to receive mental health help. So maybe you want to encourage your peers to watch this video after we're done with it. If it's uploaded on YouTube, or just share what you learned here today. That can really help us in the misconceptions in our community. Advocate for resources on your community and in your campus. So attending CAPS events, advocating for CAPS resources, things of that nature. And then think of a time you heard a misconception about your identity and how did it make you feel. I think this goes back to the point of treat people how you want to be treated. That's something we hear all the time in elementary. So it doesn't just stop there. It also goes with misconceptions and mental health as well.
Yeah, exactly. And like adding on to that, once you place yourself in a time where someone's made a misconception about your own identity, hopefully it can help you like sympathize with other people who hear misconceptions about their mental illness. And hopefully that helps connect, just ending your own misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the last slide. We listed CAPS resources, which is their number, their website, email, and programs. And then there's also their Instagram and email as well. Grace, did you have anything else you wanted to add as well?
No. Well, the Instagram and email is for the Public Health Society. CAPS,
oh, right.
Yeah, the CAPS actually doesn't have an Instagram yet, but we do have an email if you guys are interested in peer support groups or individual therapy. Our therapy is free for students, so definitely take advantage of that. And then there's other webinars or events similar to this one recorded on our YouTube page, and you should be able to find it if you just Google Counseling and Psychological Services, UM-Dearborn. Did anyone have any questions or comments?
Yeah, like if any of my friends are suffering with some sort of mental health issues, can you recommend me some sources to fix it? Or like I could recommend them something, as you both are aware of stuff.
Yeah, I would definitely like screenshot if you can, or take a picture of this page.
Got it.
Yeah, because you can always email CAPS to like get more info about our therapy, and also check out CAPS website, which is on this slide as well.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that was a really good question. Thank you.
Yeah. Also, like you just told me that you guys don't have an Instagram page. So if someone wanted to volunteer for that, like I know basics of graphic designing, so I would like to do that and spread the word around.
Yeah, we can email our supervisor and ask if that's possible, because that's a good idea.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Could you put your email in the chat?
Yeah, 1 sec.
Yeah, thank you for reaching out for that. I know I don't think we're allowed to have an Instagram page for a certain reason.
Oh.
Don't quote me on that, but I definitely think that.
I guess like the points you stated right in the slides and all, these should be available somewhere that is more accessible to the youth. Yeah, so like Instagram and all, maybe.
Yeah, maybe like even if we create some flyers or something, just
exactly.
to word and spread it out on campus. I think that's a really good idea.
Exactly. Because people don't know about this, and even though they do need it, and they just don't know the resources where to reach out and stuff like that. So maybe like instead of mailing, they could just DM that they need some help, and the counselors could help them. Because no one is that into like, imagine someone is depressed and you're telling them to get an appointment, then go to some office, and it might be too hectic for them because they're already suffering and all, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we do have drop-in hours as well. So like
Okay.
if you are like in a situation where you don't have time to make an appointment or don't want to make an appointment, we do have drop-in
Okay.
hours, and there's drop-in hours to meet with peer mentors. So
Oh,
people
that's good.
similar to me and Naomi, we host support groups, and they take place
Okay.
Mondays through Thursdays, and it's just a place
Oh,
to receive help with your peers.
oh, that's cool. Like, are these offline or online only?
They're both.
The support. Okay.
Yeah.
And how can we join them?
If you want, I could email you the flyer for it.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
All of our services are available on the website. So if you go to UM-Dearborn Counseling and Psychological Services, it'll have all the
Okay.
events we have, all the upcoming events, all of our services and things like that.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, is there any other questions or anything? Any comments? Okay, cool. All right, thank you guys for coming to our event.
Yeah, thank you. It was great to talk to you guys.
Same here.
Yeah, sure. Yes. The workshop was really great. Thank you, guys.
Of course, yeah, thank you.
Bye, guys.